Welcome to the show, everyone. Today's guest is Beth Azor. Beth is the founder and owner of Azor Advisory Services, a commercial real estate advisory and investment firm based in South Florida. Known by her brand, The Canvassing Queen, with over 36 years of experience, she owns and manages 5 shopping centers in Florida and travels the country consulting with and training associates in the commercial real estate industry. She is the author of multiple books, including Don't Say No for the Prospect, How I Went from a Sales Rookie to a Retail Leasing Rockstar to a shopping center owner with more than $79 million in assets, and her other book, The Retail Leasing Playbook. It didn't start this way, as Beth was once the president of Terranova, Florida's largest third-party asset manager, making an incredible income while working incredible hours and traveling extensively. Despite her best efforts to manage it all, she was missing too many of her 2 young boys' activities, and despite the doubters saying she was nuts, she decided to walk away from it all to start her own business and take her boys along for the ride. I'm excited to have Beth on the show today to share her perspective on what it takes to design your own successful life and lean into what's most important, despite what others may say. And with that, Beth Azor, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eric. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm honored to have you here. I know you are super busy and have an exciting traveling sort of life. And I'm just so pleased and honored that you would take some time to share your story with us. And we could go in a lot of directions with your story. You've so many aspects that people can learn from. And there are a few I think we'll talk about in terms of that life pivot that you made and just what it takes to be successful. I'm very curious about I'm not a real estate guy, but I know enough about real estate. I've been exposed to it. I've owned some real estate, but I'm very curious, given market dynamic stuff that's happened in the last few years, what you see on the commercial real estate front and where you think things are going, given all the changes we've had with people seeming to spend less time leaving their home and seeing more time online. And what does that mean for retailers and everything else? So we'll get into a whole lot of fun stuff, but first, let's talk about where it all began for you, Beth. Where did you grow up as a kiddo? What were your childhood influences like? And what were you excited about doing when you were a kid?
So I grew up and was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I'm a good Midwest girl. When I was 14, my parents moved us down to Florida. But while we were in Milwaukee, we owned a bar, kind of like Cheers.
Nice.
And so when we lived upstairs from the bar.
Oh, wow.
So my growing up there was a buzzer that my mom would push at 9:00 on a Saturday night if they needed ice. And I was 8 and I had to come downstairs and go down to the basement and get ice because the bar was jamming and they couldn't leave. My dad and her couldn't leave. She had bowling leagues and pool leagues and basketball games. They did lots of special events. A Sunday, they'd close the bar in the summer and go have a picnic out at a park. And it was phenomenal. My dad turned out that he was an alcoholic. No, how that funny works. But he ended up getting sober when I was 11 and getting his real estate license, and realized after 3 years owning a bar is probably not a good thing for an recovering alcoholic. And that's when, probably when I was about 12 or 13, he started selling land for lots for homes in Florida. And we ended up moving to Florida because of that job. And
how did he get connected to Florida from Wisconsin?
So he was hired to work for ITT, which owned a planned unit development in north of Daytona Beach, south of St. Augustine. He was one of those guys that literally at the kitchen table would, hopefully most of your listeners know what a White Pages is, where we used to have these books that had our phone numbers in them. And he would cold call saying, hey, do you want to retire and live in Florida one day? You can pay $100 down and $50 a month. And when you retire, you have a lot and you can go build a house on it. And he cold called, and every other month he would take trips where they would take the people down to Florida to see their lots. And it was a big deal. And he was very, very successful salesperson. And that's how we got to Florida.
Wow, that's amazing. And so talk about a dramatic change from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Florida. So you go from Midwest, big time winners, Packers fans. I got to believe the bar is full of Packers fans.
100%. And just, but a hard life, like in the
Yeah,
winter, really hard,
really
just
hard.
scrape, turning on your car, scraping. Yeah. So, and my high school in ninth grade, we're Catholic. I went to a
Yeah.
parochial school. So my class was 900 kids in my freshman class in Milwaukee. We moved to Florida to a town of 4,000 people, and my whole school was I moved when I was in ninth grade. We had seventh grade through 12th grade in one school, and my class was 80 people.
Whoa.
Talk about, and for the first time in my life, I went to a public school. So it was a culture shock, but I loved every second of it. It really turned my life around, that move.
Man, so when I think about Florida, because I grew up as a kid in Buffalo, New York, right? So cold winters, lots of snow, lots of memories of snow and shoveling snow and scraping and how hard that is, right? The whole, especially when you're a kid, it's somewhat like a magical, somewhat like a winter wonderland. You don't have I remember though, my dad waking up, he would commute 45 miles to work and he in a carpool. And so he would wake up and peek out the window to see, did it snow overnight to where he's going to have to shovel the driveway before be able to get the car out.
Right. They didn't need any gym memberships up there.
No, exactly. So shoveling snow in the dark before taking a shower and getting ready for work was just a thing that you do when you live in a snowy climate. And so to go from that to South Florida, and I remember we would vacation in Florida, like a lot of New Yorkers, right? Straight down. And it was like, it was magical, right? Orange juice and oranges and Disneyland and all that stuff. Did you think, okay, I'm going from Wisconsin from the winter to I'm moving to where Mickey Mouse lives, right? It was
we moved to a beach town, and I'm like surfer dudes. Like it was magical.
yeah.
I was so excited to do it. People were like, "You're 14." And then my parents in Florida at the time, you couldn't get your real estate license until you were a resident for 1 year. So I literally went, Eric, from not ever really seeing my parents, like living upstairs from the business.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to see them, I'd have to go downstairs while they were working, major entrepreneurs,
Yep.
to coming home from school at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and they're sitting in the living room because we had about 7 properties. We went to Florida in December, put a house under contract, closed on March 15th. And not only did they sell the bar, the business, we had 7 other properties. I wish my parents were alive, because now as an adult, I would like to know what the hell, in 90 days, you sold 7 properties and moved to a whole state away from all of our family. It's crazy to think about what they did. And as a 14-year-old, they were like, oh, your daughter, she's in high school. How hard? So a year later, when they opened the real estate brokerage firm, residential, I would be called, like just like I was with the ice, but it was different. Now I was come up to the office. We have a family. They're thinking about moving here, and they have teenage kids. And I was like this salesperson. I was the one that got them over the hump with the kids.
With the kids. Wow. So you really have grown up in an entrepreneurial home, right? So, and you saw your parents. What's interesting about your first part of your story is obviously they're working very hard. They're calling you because they can't come up for ice themselves, or you've got to come down to get the ice out of the basement. And so they're working really hard. They're working long, late hours. But you also said that they took Sundays sometimes and had a picnic. So they closed the bar and went and chilled out. What was
and they had it for the families of the bar. They said, come out, we're going to close. Everyone come with the families out and have a picnic in the summer every Sunday at 1. And they would have what is it when like
cornhole or like the beanbag thing or the yard?
Yeah, all that stuff. Volleyball. Everyone
Yeah.
would play volleyball. It was so much fun. Yeah, and we have Milwaukee Bucks, and my mom used to work for the Milwaukee Bucks owner. She was his executive assistant. So we had 4 floor seats.
Oh,
So she had connections with the Milwaukee Bucks, and we would have they would take adult trips to the games, like 30 people on a bus, like couples. And then she would do kids, like a kids game on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, wow.
She was so smart, so smart. She was brilliant. And my dad was a dreamer. My dad was like, I again, I wish they were alive, because I'm embarrassed that I never like said, oh my God, like I know my mom was a worrywart and my
Mm.
dad was Mr. Optimistic. I can't imagine that those 3 months of hell that they went through to move to Florida and just sell everything.
Yeah.
At 40, they were 42.
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Did you leave a big
But
family behind? Do you remember?
we did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My dad left two sisters, and I think I had 17 cousins. My grandmother, we brought her with us because 3 months right in we moved in, we closed down the house in March. In March, my grandfather died. So my parents said, come on, grandma, you come with us. So she came with us for the first year and she lived with us. And then she eventually went back to Wisconsin, but it helped her
Yeah.
after losing her husband.
Wow. What was there? Do you remember? Was the family going, you're crazy to move to Florida? Like, why are you leaving the family? Or was there more like, hey, that's awesome. That's exciting.
I think they were probably a little jealous.
Mm,
Most of our family, we were the only entrepreneurs. So I think they were always watching, going, what the hell are they going to do next type of
mm,
thing. I think they probably appreciated my two aunts, my dad's two sisters, you know, there was some alcoholism in the family.
yeah.
So I think they were probably very happy and relieved that we were going to get out of the bar scene. My grandparents had a bar too, and my grandfather was an alcoholic. So I
Uh,
think that they were probably happy that we were moving on to new things, but I'm
yeah.
sure they thought we were a little crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that our family, the reaction was, why would you do this? Like, why are you going to Texas? It seems crazy. What is going on? Why would you leave the family and everything behind? And this is our home. And there was a bit of that, you'll be back. Like this isn't going to last. You'll be back. I remember I had one uncle that said, you're going to be back 100%. And I was like, why are you so confident in that? Like, why do you think that's true? And it was so funny. His answer was water. He's like, do you see these Great Lakes we have up here, all this fresh water? He goes, Texas said, there's no water in Texas. Eventually you're going to run out of water. Everybody's coming back up here. And I was like, that's bizarre. It seems completely false. There were some seasons here. We had some big droughts in Texas. We haven't in a while, but where I was thinking he may be right. We may be going back for the water, but yeah, we've had a lot of rain here in the last, I don't know how many years. Everything's full right now, but yeah, interesting. And interesting to kind of see people that really love you and that want the best for you sometimes can pull you in a direction that they think is best, but ultimately maybe not what you're dreaming about, what you think is what your purpose is, what you're designed to go do. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting. The other thing that strikes me is I've had so many entrepreneurs on the show and the kids that grew up in entrepreneurial homes and the different reactions that they had as kids. So sometimes like, yeah, I just knew I was going to be an entrepreneur because my dad was doing, or my mom was doing her thing and his thing, whatever. And I just loved it. And then others were like, I saw my parents suffer and struggle and work every day and never take a vacation and never get to my games because they were always working. And so I wanted to go get a job because I thought that is not the life for me. And yeah,
I never wanted to own my own business ever. I was very, very happy. And I know we're going to get to the story. I was very happy working for someone.
mm,
I didn't want, and it's not that, and they did never get to my games.
mm,
They very rarely until we moved to Florida. Then when we moved to Florida and I was a pitcher on my softball team, my dad came to every game and it was literally life changing.
really,
Literally life changing.
was it weird at first? Where you're like, wow, this is like, what is this?
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing. And I wasn't involved that much in Milwaukee because I didn't drive. They couldn't drive me. So when I was in Milwaukee, I manufactured a fake Girl Scout troop and told girls in my class, come to my house. My mom's going to be the girls. I mean, these women showed up with their kids and my mom was furious, but I was looking for doing some sort of organization like I saw her do, right?
Yeah.
But when I moved to Florida, when you have 80 kids in your class, you do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the flag girl, I was a cheerleader, I was the editor of the school newspaper. And one day I'm sitting in the cafeteria and the softball coach walks up and says, you look like you could, you're athletic. I need you out on the team. Like you did everything. So that was amazing. Yeah. And the fact that my dad couldn't work for a year.
Yeah.
board.
He's
So
coming.
he attended all my stuff. It was great.
How cool is that? That's
So
awesome.
cool.
And yeah, and you saw, and so not only, amazing, but the compare contrast. So your brain, you're old enough to see both lives and remember both lives and compare contrast, right? Like, oh, this is better. Interesting. Okay. So you're not going to be an entrepreneur. You're like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go work for somebody. Did you plan to go to college? Did you go to college? Kind of what is once you leave high school, what does that look like?
Yeah. So in Milwaukee, no one talked about college. I moved to Florida
Mhm.
and everyone talked about college. It was bizarre. And my sister's 9 years older than me, and she had gone to Loyola in Chicago for 1 year and then she got married. All my cousins, very few of my family members went to college. It wasn't a thing we talked about.
Yeah.
We moved to Florida. I'm in ninth grade and people are talking, oh, I'm going to Florida State. I'm going to go to University of Florida. It was a thing.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. So the plan was to do what all my peers were doing, right? And go to a Florida school.
Yeah.
And that's what I ended up doing. And I ended up going to Florida State. I wanted to go to University of Florida, wherever all my friends were going. And they sent me the acceptance letter and they said, congratulations, you're a Gator. We'll see you, but you have to come in June. And I'm like, I don't want to go in June. I want to work. I want to have fun after my senior year.
Yeah.
And then the next day, Florida State sent a letter. Congratulations. See you in September. I'm like, I'm going to be a Seminole.
September.
So yeah.
Here we go.
So I went to college. And I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college.
Oh, wow. Nice. And what was your degree? What were you like, okay, this is what I'm going to go to college for?
English literature.
All right. Right on.
I literally remember when I was in fifth grade at an open house, the nun telling my parents, Beth's not really good in math and science, but she's really good in English and history. So you should like steer her towards that, which many women in our society are told that, and that's expected of them, which I'm on a mission to change. Like when I speak at women's conferences and they say, what's your best advice for young women? Learn math, be good at math. Don't listen to these silly ideas.
Yeah. Right. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you get your English lit degree, and then what's the plan after college? What are you thinking about going to do, and what do you do?
So I was in a sorority and I got this opportunity. I was very involved in campus. We had Florida State was huge, and Greek Week was where all of the sororities and fraternities participated in all of these different competitions, and I led Greek Week for the campus. And I left saying I'm gonna run the Olympics one day. I loved logistics and planning events, loved it. So I got tapped from my sorority to be a chapter advisor, which is a year out of college. You travel the country and you go to schools all over in, like my area was the Midwest, and you advised the chapters, the sorority chapters on the campuses on recruitment, budgeting, alumni relations, you name it.
Yeah.
And I did that for a year, which I loved. Lived out of a suitcase, but phenomenal experience. And then when my boyfriend at the time that I met in college, who eventually became my husband, he was in Miami. So I started when the year of the chapter consultant thing started ending, I started interviewing or looking for jobs in Miami to follow the boy. And one of my alumni sorority sisters who worked at Norwegian Caribbean Cruise Lines, I met her and she said, there's a special events position opened up at the Heart Association. You should go apply for that. I did. I got the job. I started 2 weeks later. I started making $11,000, which is today about 30. So I've always had I got my real estate license when I was 18. When you're in a family with real estate people, this happens.
Just do this.
So I would do real estate on the weekends, sit open houses for a developer. And I was at the Heart for 2 years, loved every minute of it. But I went from 11 to 23,000, which was great, doubled my salary, but not enough to live on. And the weekend job, I was making about 40, only work. So my executive director of the Heart called me in one day and she said, we love you, but your ambition exceeds us.
Oh, wow.
She goes, I only make 30 and you're at 23. So you should go do this real estate thing full time and just volunteer for us, which is when I crossed that. I did that. I quit the Heart, loved the job, and started working for the residential guy. Within 3 months, hated it. Went from working 7 days a week to work sitting in a trailer waiting for people to walk in the door to sell a home. And I went to the developer and I said, we need to do events, back to my events world. And we need to bring people in and market. And he said, no, you just sit and read People magazines. And when people come in, you sell them. And I thought I was going to kill myself. And so a girl came in to help over a Mother's Day weekend. We were going to get busy. And she was in commercial retail leasing. And she said, there's this thing where you help people fill space in shopping centers. And once you do, and you help them with their American dream, you're in their life forever. You get invited to every wedding, baptism. I'm like, sign me up. How do I do that? And she goes, well, there's a company in Miami. They'd have a training program called Terranova. Call there. So I called there and I said, do you have a training program, how to train people how to lease space? And they said, yeah. I said, who's in charge of that? And they said, Donna Abood. I go, Donna Abood from Florida State? They go, yeah, she went to Florida State. She was my sorority sister.
No way.
She picks up the phone. She goes, Beth. And she goes, you're hired. Just come meet the boss. And we were 11 people at that when I got hired there in 1986.
Wow. All right. So for the listener that doesn't understand maybe that leasing gig that you just described. So basically people own shopping centers. So someone owns a shopping center and they have a big corner spot. Maybe that's the anchor, big space. And then there's a bunch of small slots. Everyone's seen this. They've all shopped in these places, but somebody has to represent. Someone is helping a company, and help me understand, make sure I'm on track here. Represents, you've got a laundromat, or maybe that's a bad example, a pizza restaurant. You need space, you need 1,500 square feet, an oven, the thing, and you find a spot for them and help to find them. Okay, this has got the right demographics, the right traffic count, parking, et cetera. Go check this out. So you're representing the tenant effectively.
You can do two. So you either represent the shopping center owner where you go out and find tenants and bring them into lease vacancies, or you represent the tenants and help them look for spaces. So Starbucks and Ulta and Home Depot, they all have people that represent them. They go out and look for locations for them. That's called a tenant rep broker. What I do is I'm a landlord rep broker, and now I own my own shopping centers, but I would rep landlords and I would go knocking on doors, canvassing to find tenants to come fill my vacancies.
Okay. So you worked for the person that owned the building, and you're like, okay, I got 4 slots to fill here. I need to go find some tenants.
Exactly.
And you would canvas, meaning, if I think of canvassing, so you're just going out knocking on doors. And are you knocking on existing? So like, hey, you need to move from here to my place.
Well, I don't say move. I'd say, hey, do you want to open another location? I see you have 3 locations. You're a donut shop.
Okay.
I have the shopping center. I think, a donut and coffee would be good. This is why I think it would be good. So yeah, canvassing is just going into other existing businesses who have locations that are paying someone rent. And I'd like to go into ones that have 2 or 3 locations, because if they've already opened 2 or 3, they're very likely to open a 4th.
Sure. Got it. Now this is, Beth, you're describing, this is hardcore selling. This is door to door, knocking on doors, walking in, you see the pimply faced kid behind the counter. You're like, who's the owner of this place? Right. And you got to navigate to the buyer. Then you got to pitch them. So that's selling, which I haven't heard you. Well, you did selling when you were sitting in the trailer waiting for people to walk in to buy real estate, but you're waiting, but now you're actively knocking on doors.
Yeah, I'm going back to watching my dad with the white pages at the kitchen table dialing for dollars.
And how was that?
I didn't even know that I didn't know it was a hard thing to do.
Okay.
Like day one at Terranova, 11 people, Donna and my boss, Steven, said, fill out this employment paperwork. We're going to go to a meeting and we'll come back and we'll start your training program. And I said, okay, well, I finished the paperwork in 15 minutes. I'm like, now what do I do? And I had not had any training. I didn't know what to do. I thought, well, I'm going to be leasing commercial space. Who takes a lot of commercial space? And I thought back then, Sir Speedy popped into my head. I get out the white pages. I look up Sir Speedy. They've got 50 locations. I called the headquarters. Mind you, I don't know. I have not been trained 5 minutes. I go, hey, I work for a commercial real estate company. Do you need any locations? He goes, as a matter of fact, I need a new headquarters locations. Can you meet tomorrow? I said, sure. Stephen and Donna walked back in the office. I go, I have an appointment tomorrow to help Sir Speedy. It was like
with a new headquarters.
It just came natural.
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. That's amazing. What a story. And so what happened with Sir Speedy? Did you get that?
So the headquarters was 250 square feet of a little executive.
Okay. Fair enough.
But it was my first deal. And
you
Donna
did.
says, she goes, I can't go with you, but I'll tell you the questions to ask. Like I literally went on my first meeting, day 2, knowing nothing.
Alone.
And like 3 months later, we had a lease signed. And the place we signed the lease for him was the first shopping center I bought. The same owner was the first. Talk about,
wow,
full circle. I said, I want to buy this shopping center. And the broker said, oh, this guy, Marvin owns it. Marvin Stelnick. I go, Mark Stelnick. And I went, oh my God, I did my first deal with Mark Stelnick 30 years ago.
No way. And you end up buying his property.
Yep.
And you cold called him too. So it wasn't for sale?
No, it was listed for sale with a broker. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting, yeah. Man. Okay. So I'm curious, business mind here, just around the way that works. So so Sir Speedy's like, okay, I need space. You find him space. You put him in that landlord's building that you're representing. How do you get paid? Is it based on the size?
The landlord pays you. So the landlord pays you a commission, which was all of about $300. It wasn't a lot of money, but just, the education I got, right?
Based on the rent, or how's that?
Yeah. So if let's say the rent's $1,000 a month, $12,000, let's say they sign a 2-year lease, is 24,000 of income, and you get 3% of the 24,000.
Okay.
Typically.
Okay. And is that paid like right away? So I spam, here's a check.
50% at time of execution, and then 50% when they move in.
Okay. So you're getting it sort of upfront. So, but you don't have to wait 24 months to get it. So, no. Okay. So you're getting paid, and that's probably a decent check, I would think. Or as you said, it was pretty small, $300 or something.
Well, because it was such a small space.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I just renewed a lease, 3,400 square foot tenant, $60. I think my fee's $50,000.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So it's good. You see, like out of the gate, like this can be lucrative. I did a deal pretty quickly, and you're like, this is fun.
Yeah, I loved it. Well, the minute I walked into the space to interview with Steven, the boss, everything, like the hairs on my arms, I just walked into this 800 square foot office, and I said, oh, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Like,
you knew.
And I was there 18 years. I mean, and then I took it from 11 people to 150. I was the president the last 6 years I was there.
Man.
It was kismet when I walked into that place.
Yeah. Man, amazing. What a run. And so you're at the point of being president, are you still actively writing deals, or are you managing teams? Yeah,
I loved it.
Teams, so, but you stayed.
Yeah, I managed 14 leasing agents. By now I'm investing with my boss, Steven. I'm running the team, 150 people. I obviously graduated from the 11 people, and then, I got my first property, and then he said, be the director of leasing, hire your first person, your junior leasing agent. So, I just helped him. Donna left. Donna ended up leaving very short, probably within a year after I started, to start her own boutique firm. So It was basically Steven and I growing the company, and he was brilliant. I learned so much. I said, I think I want to sell shopping centers. He said, okay. So I just did a lot and really, we changed the industry in South Florida. We did so much. It was great. And when we created our own training program. So this is why I train people around the country now, based on everyone remembering the training program I did at Terranova.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay. So I'm curious. So the canvassing queens, I want to talk a little bit about this, because what we talked right away, you talked about that was effectively you canvassed day one. You were going out knocking on a door.
Right.
And I've watched a couple of your videos, and you talk about how are you canvassing, and some of the people are like, I'm really not. So talk a bit about this whole, so it sounds like this is like a key thing of you're like, you got to canvass, which means you got to knock on doors, and just tell me about when you're the canvassing queen, what does that mean?
So if you want a qualified tenant to lease in your shopping center, what's the best way to tell if they're qualified? They've got another location.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sit on the phone and call Sir Speedy's all day long, or talk to startup businesses that would have to call me. I can't go find a startup business, like an entrepreneur who wants to go start up a coffee place.
Yeah. No
I
idea
don't know who
he
those
is.
people are.
Right.
They have to call me. So if all I'm doing is sitting around waiting for the phone to ring for startup businesses or someone who's got one that thinks they might to go to two, I'll be waiting a long time. I won't be able to fill my shopping center as fast as I know I can do it. Now, there are, as you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of places that fill shopping centers around the world. So why not just go walk into those and go, hey, pool supply guy, have you ever thought about opening another location? No, but I got to move out of this one. They're demolishing the shopping center. Great. I have a shopping center down the street. So you want to go where your customer is, and that's where your customer is. So I preach canvassing. People don't like to canvass. They don't like to sell. They don't like to get out of the comfort zone of their office. They'd rather just sit and try to cold call and not have a lot of success.
Yeah.
So one day, someone in my industry was kind of joking, but kind of in a mean way. Oh, here she comes, the canvassing queen. And I went, oh,
I'm going to brand that. I'm
using that.
Using it.
And now it's trademarked. And And so now companies all around the country go, I just had a company from California called me and goes, we know our 18 agents aren't canvassing. We need you to come because I will do a boot camp and I will take them out.
Nice.
And we'll get leads and they'll say, well, they cannot believe the success we have. Because when I walk in, Eric, to the pimply faced kid, I treat them like they're the owner. I do not ask if they're the owner. I just say, hey, have you guys thought about expanding? And he goes, me? I'm not the owner, but you've just elevated them.
Yeah.
You've made them aspirational in their goals. And then they want to give me the owner's cell phone number.
Cell phone. Yeah. Yeah. How awesome is that? Treat them with respect, right? Treat them like, give them that honor. Love that. And it's also, you have to know, I would think you have to know your shopping center owner or yourself. Like if you go, hey, I got a great tenant, they're a tattoo parlor and the owner's like, this
vape.
Easy. I don't care. Vapes. I don't want them in my building, right? That's nuts. They can pay the rent. Yeah, but that's the wrong mix for me. Like, I don't want that. So you have to know both sides, right?
You got to know your client. You got like, I have a client right now. I don't do a lot of third party, but I do a couple, and meaning leasing properties I don't own. That's called third party leasing. So I have two clients that I work with. They're kind of like family friends. And this one, we're about to lose a CVS. The pharmacy industry is changing.
Yep.
And they don't want to have a year vacancy. And if you want someone like a national credit tenant, like Amazon or Skechers, you're going to have a year of downtime. Yeah. So, and we'll get it leased and we'll get it at super high rents, but they're freaked out about that. They don't want to have that. So I had a brainstorm this morning. I said, look, the only way we're going to get someone in 90 days is it's a local tenant who can move fast, that we can get their attention. And I said, let me just go out, instead of charging $40 in rent, let's say $10 in rent year one.
Yeah.
But you got to sign within 90 days of CVS moving. And they love the idea because for them, it wasn't important about the income. It was not having it vacant. So you absolutely need to know, versus if it was me, I'd let the CVS vacant for 2 years because I'd want to get the perfect tenant at the right rent. Yeah. But I don't, that's who I am. I'm more of a long-term player. I'm not nervous if the space sits empty for a couple months.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, cool. So, all right. So now you're growing, you're rocking and rolling, you're moving up the company ladder, you end up president, you're making, I have to think, big money, you're traveling, and you've got two little boys at this
point? Private jet travel. I have one little boy. He's 4.
Okay.
We'll get to how I got the second little boy. Yeah. So I get a divorce. My son's 1. I'm divorced, and I'm the president of this company, 150 people, and I have a live-in nanny. And basically, I was with my husband. We dated 7 years, and we were together 10 years before I got pregnant. We were just going to let God, give us a baby one day if that was the plan. We didn't go through any extracurricular activities to get there. And one day when I was 39 years old, after being together with this person for 17 years, I got pregnant.
Wow.
Shocking. And I was very happy. I was a very hard charging, professional woman. Yep. I did not know how much I was going to love being a mom. I love being a mom. So, but running a company of 150 people. I found out my husband was unfaithful. We got a divorce. I have a 1-year-old, and my live-in nanny is raising my son. I'm rushing home every night at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and she's shaking her head at the garage door that he's sleeping. And so I was starting to have these pangs, well, how do I leave? I'm running this company. I'm the president. I built this company. Yeah. And then, so I was starting to have conversations with my partner. I don't know, this is really hard. And then, my son had a Halloween party at 3 years old. And he said, Mommy, you're going to come to the Halloween party. I'm coming to the Halloween party. Mommy, please, I really want to at daycare. Yeah. And so, I got in the car at 4 o'clock. I started leaving the office at 4 o'clock. I have 10 people following me down to the garage, stopping me at my car, asking questions. It's hour and a half drive. I get to the party, and my son is at the window, glass window, looking out the door thing. As I'm walking in my pumps and my navy blue business suit, click, 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 click. Yeah. And I get there, and all the kids are gone. The party's over. And he's got snot rolling down his face, crying. And I said, no more. And I, took him for ice cream, and I made it up to him. To this day, he's 24. He does not know that. He doesn't remember it. Wow. So for all of the moms out there, 4-year-olds don't remember, but I remember. Yep. And I went in the next day, and I gave 3 months notice, and I ended up staying till February from October. So this was Halloween week to February. But my boss partner was like, you're never leaving. You're not leaving. Your huge salary. Yeah. You're all the trappings,
first class trappings everywhere you go.
He said, you're never leaving. And when I did leave, it was on the front page of the Miami Herald. It was a big deal. And I had no idea what I was going to do. I thought I would just go work for someone else in a lesser capacity. Everyone interviewed me, and they're like, what do you want to do? I go, I want to work 25 hours a week. Like, screw that. We're not, no. So I had to start my own thing, because no one would hire me and let me work 25 or 30 hours a week.
Yeah. Yeah. So you start, okay. So then what,
so I got a call. I knew I was going to start buying real estate, because I had bought, my partner, Steven, had bought 7 deals that I put money in, little pieces of money, 50,000, 100,000. And I realized that this passive income thing was a beautiful thing, where you get, $3,000 a month for checks. Yep. I said, okay, I can do what he did, and I can go be a general partner, and I can go find the deal and raise money. So my plan was, I will buy 1 deal every 2 years and grow that passive income. But I still needed cash flow. And as I'm interviewing with all of these companies, trying to figure out who could hire me to do consulting, because then I realized, okay, no one's going to hire me for 25 or 30 hours a week as an employee. I knew I could get some consulting gigs, and I started interviewing for that. And then the phone started ringing on the training, and it didn't stop once it started. And I was like, oh, this is a whole side business thing I could do. And I started making 6 figures doing training, traveling around the country, like in and out. The first call was Detroit, Michigan. And they're like, we just hired 4 kids from University of Michigan. Can you come up here and train them? I'm like, Detroit in January? No, and no. I said, but you have an office in Boca. Because remember, now I was focused on my son. I said, you have an office in Boca. Send them to Boca, and I'll train them, and we'll canvas for your assets in South Florida. We'll get leads, and I'll train them for 5 days. And every day I can go pick up my kid from daycare, because that was the priority. And it was a huge success. They loved it, and the word spread. And literally I started getting great cash flow from the training business while I was looking to buy deals.
So it's almost like a boot camp you're setting up for these new kids coming into the business. You're going to try 5 days with me, and by the end, you're going to have actual leads, not just technical or theoretical leads. You'll
figure out what canvassing is, and you won't be afraid of it or scared of it or not like it, because I'm going to make it fun. And then, so I did that. I started Azor Advisory Services, started doing consulting. I started doing these trainings, and then I was loving being a mom, and I said, I thought, oh, maybe I'll meet another man and get pregnant. Well, 2 years later, that didn't happen. And I said to my son, Alex, who was, 4 or 5 at the time, what do you think about a little brother? We can adopt. So we adopted Mario when Alex was 8 and Mario was 5. And
wow.
I would have never been able to adopt a child working 80 hours a week at Terranova, but have never done it. So when my son Alex, who's 24, when he was 12, someone asked him, what's the best thing your mother ever did for you? It was like a thing in school that you had to ask questions. What was the best thing your parents ever did for you? And Alex said, my mom was my T-ball coach when I was 4.
Oh, wow. How awesome is that?
And that would have never happened. Like I couldn't even get out of the garage at 7:30 at night. So that was like that cemented, I made the right decision, because it was hard giving up all of the trappings. It was hard giving up the power, but it was easy when you knew the impact you were making and the fact that we got to add to our family.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I'm curious so you make this big change, which was hard to do, and you're giving up the trappings. And your partner, your boss, is at the time going, "You're nuts. You're never going to do it."
He was furious with me, furious when I left. He said, "You're not going to do it." He kept thinking I was going to. He kept saying, "Just work less hours." You know what?
Yeah.
And when I left, literally, we didn't talk for probably 5 years. He was furious.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're very close now again.
Yes.
But for the first 3 to 5 years, it was a very cantankerous relationship.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome that you're close again after 5 years. That's 5 years to get there, but you're close again. That's cool. I'm curious if you had any buyer's remorse, or when you're months into this transition and change, are you like, oh, dang, this is going to be like, we got a little issue here. Nothing.
I had saved up some money. I had a few $100,000 in the bank. But it was hard.
Yeah.
And, there wasn't a lot, we were used to going on the private jet on vacations. We didn't do, but again, Alex didn't care. He didn't care. I was the T-ball coach. So the priority shift for me was mind blowing.
Yep. That's awesome.
And so satisfactory. So kids don't care about that stuff.
Yep. Were you traveling when you start traveling to coach and teach new advisors? Were you away a lot for that? Did you take Alex with you, or how did that go?
I still had to live in nanny. I mostly would fly in. I fly early. I fly in the morning and come back at night. I really focused on not traveling and being away from him.
Yep.
And every day until they graduated high school, if I was away, I don't care if I was in California, I would call them before school. Like I'd wake up, I'd set my alarm at 3:00 to call them at 6:00 so I could talk to them while they ate breakfast.
Yeah.
So, but I tried to I would fly early and come home late. So I was only away one night.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay. At what point do you recall that you said that you realized that I'm more successful in this new mode than I was where I was before? Or was it just that the priority was completely different? So
I'm happier. I was happier within 3 months. People would see me at industry events and go, "Oh, you're so happy."
Different. Yeah.
I mean, you're so different, because I remember being at Terranova thinking 78% in everything I do is good enough. Because I couldn't, there was just too much. And I had great people, but we had 100 properties, life insurance companies, pension funds, 150 employees. There was never enough time in the day to do everything you had to do and be a single mom.
Yeah.
So I had to 78%. When I left and I just started on my own, I'm like, I can get things done at 98%. This is very fulfilling.
Yeah.
I could finish something.
Right.
And I was very happy. And I had a rule when I left Terranova. I had 2 rules: no third party. I do 2 in 24 years that I've been gone, 21 years I've been gone. I've only done very few third party things. So, because when you do third party, you have a boss. I just wanted to be my own boss. And I said, no people, because the 150 people, they sap you. So I was not about scaling. I wanted to build the real estate portfolio. I didn't want to build a team and a company. Yep. So to this day, 21 years later, I have my director of operations who started as my part-time assistant.
Yeah.
And she joined me 3 months after I left Terranova. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how to do attachments because I was a spoiled brat and had an assistant for 18 years at Terranova. Right. So I don't know how to do attachments. I don't know how to do Excel. I need an assistant. So I had to bite the bullet and figure out how I could pay an assistant. And she started at 20 hours a week. Josie, she's been with me for 21 years.
Wow.
And it's her and me. I have a part-time bookkeeper that's a 1099.
Yep.
That's it. So for 21 years, it's me and Josie. It's our show. And because people are a challenge and they sap you away from that Halloween party. I blame those 8 people. Like I was walking out of the office at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like the people.
Yeah. I gotcha. Okay. So now I would think you're got to be doing keynotes, which can be very lucrative, right? So you're doing speaking, consulting.
Only when I got the book. So that's why I wrote the books. So I would do keynotes and they pay me $500.
Yeah.
And then I was doing the keynote and someone came up to me afterward, like, you're the best speaker. The organizer came up to me and said, oh my God, you got the best reviews, way better than the guy we paid $5,000.
Yeah.
And I go, you paid that guy $5,000. You couldn't even read his slides. And they said, yeah, you're a steal. I go, why did you pay him? Well, he has a book. I freaking wrote a book in the next 6 months. And then I started charging $5,000 and more.
Yeah.
The books. The book gets you the better speaking fees. Even if, you could have an empty book, one of those books, like those funny books you see in boutiques.
Right. They're
but my books are good.
Type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the book, that's why I did the books. I had no interest in writing books, but they got me the higher speaking fees.
Right on. All right. And so now you're a single mom of the 2 boys, right? So you're raising them up, and these boys are now young men, right? So flash forward to kind of current. How old are they now?
Alex is 24 and lives in LA, and he has a podcast on superheroes. So he gets to watch movies and go to premieres and talk about superhero and action movies. And he's making a crap ton of money, and he lives in a house with 7 other YouTubers in LA. So he's living his dream.
Right.
And he was in musical and like drama and entertainment growing up in special schools for that. So he's where he should be.
Doing his thing, yeah.
And my little one is 22 and he plays golf in college and wants to go pro. And he is just tried out to be a caddy at Pinehurst.
Oh, wow.
And we're waiting to hear if he gets that opportunity this summer.
Fabulous. How cool is that?
So cool.
Yep. And so, okay. So talk a little bit. I know we're coming toward the end of our time, and I want to just get your thoughts on commercial real estate. You're such a wealth of knowledge. You've seen so much. What do you think? Where do you see kind of commercial real estate going? What's the trends?
Yeah. So before COVID, Amazon was in online purchasing was definitely impacting our business. And the pundits said it would impact it at the peak 30%. And at the time, it was before COVID, it was about 16%. So of all online sales versus in-person sales, it was 16%. So I thought as a shopping center owner, I think I can get the other 84%. I wasn't worried. What Amazon took from us in the olden days before Amazon, there'd be boutiques and shoe stores. So the commodity things that it's better to buy online, like Zappos, that's what we've lost. Like we used to have I used to have Payless, Fava, all of these shoe stores, like they don't exist anymore because it went online. So I was very happy pre-COVID. I'm good with 86%.
Yeah.
I have enough tenants to pull from. Since COVID, everyone wants to get out and everyone wants to eat out. The number one, there's the 5 F words of users, and I'm going to be clean, that want to go in shopping centers today: food and beverage. I don't have enough space for restaurants. I'm lobbying my towns to give me more parking so that I can do more restaurants because everyone wants to eat out.
Wow.
Since COVID, it has gone, the restaurant industry and expansion industry has gone up 50% since COVID.
Wow.
Crazy. In Florida, in South Florida,
Yep.
because
Yep.
we got 500,000 new people from New York and California,
Yep.
and they're all very wealthy and they eat out. The other four F words: fun. So bounce house, entertainment, axe throwing,
Yep.
all this fun, again, socializing.
Yep.
And young kids now, the drinking's down, they're doing other things. So
Yes.
they like this thing called competitive socializing, axe throwing, putt-putt, top golf. And so that is filling shopping centers. Physicians, go with me there with the F,
Okay.
but med retail.
Yep.
They can't build hospitals, so they're putting all of the other med stuff that they can, MRIs, urgent cares. It's going into shopping centers. That's filling our shopping centers.
Yep.
Franchises is through the roof. People have money to invest and they want to invest in businesses. So the franchise explosion is going crazy. Bigger. I've been doing this for 39 years. It's the biggest I've ever seen by triple. And then the last one is fitness, the stretch zones, the Pilates, the Pure Bars, the cold tank, the sauna.
Yep.
So we have
Zones.
plenty of uses that want to lease space. And it's just a matter of finding the right person and making the right deal. So retail is, where before COVID, life insurance companies weren't investing in it anymore. Now they can't get enough of it. It's back to the upswing.
Wow. So it's super powerful. So the market's just cooking right now then.
Cooking. And we haven't developed a lot because construction costs went through the roof. And it's going to continue with like steel prices and the tariffs. So when you can't develop, that means there's no new supply. But you have these people moving to Texas and
Yes.
So the demand and the sales of the tenants are up and up and up. So you've got tenants that want more locations, no new supply, rents are going higher. I haven't bought a new deal since 2016 because I can't find deals to buy that make sense for me.
Yeah.
So that just tells you how frothy the market is.
Yeah. And interest rates, what's the interest rates doing to the market right now?
That's causing people to be paralyzed. Because people think, are they going down? Are they going up? Are they going I have a shopping center that I'm trying to sell right now. And we've had it on the market for a month with no activity. I just got an offer today, which I'm so excited about, very close to my asking price, which I didn't think was going to happen. So I think people are starting to get used to the uncertainty or used to the higher interest rates. And I mean, when my parents sold real estate, the interest rates were 18%.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
For me, 7% is no big deal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember the first house that my dad, when we moved to Texas, 1980, he was thrilled to get a 13% mortgage. He's like, we have killed it. And then I remember when I bought my first house, I think this would have been in 93, 7%. And he was like, you've done so incredibly well. You're single digit, right? And then I remember refining at 5, thinking I'll never refi this again. And at our current home, we're at 275. So we got it at like the bottom of the bottom. And it's, you think, gosh, if I ever move, I'm never getting this again, right? 275 is going to go away.
But that's why that's the uncertainty. And that's why nothing's trading. Yeah. Because people have lower, why would I sell my property if where am I going to put the money at a much higher interest? It's just,
it makes it harder. Got it. Okay. So, all right. So your boys are grown, and what's exciting for you now, Beth? What are you focused on? Your boys one's in California, so living away, one's at school and getting ready to go to Pinehurst, most likely. What's on the radar for you? What are you excited about?
So I found out during COVID that of all of the investors in commercial real estate, only 3% are women, and half of that are inherited or women who are signing on their husband's guarantees. So that means I'm part of 1.5%, which I think is awful. So 5 years ago, I started a conference to educate and expose and make aware for women, other women that are investing in commercial real estate. Because I found out that when I would ask women, do you invest? No. Why don't you invest? I don't have $1 million. Okay, well, you don't need $1 million to invest. You could invest with 25,000 as an LP in a deal, limited partner. Well, it's too complicated math. I go, okay, that's BS. We're going to, I don't know any other women doing it. That is a problem I can solve. So I had a virtual conference. I had 100 women. I had 8 women I interviewed that were investing in industrial, office, multifamily, hospitality, because I needed the other women that said, I don't know any other women, to start meeting those women. We've had 4 live conferences. The one in March was sold out, 250. Every year I say, who didn't invest last year but invested since the conference? About 10 women raised their hand. Now I have women investing with each other in the room, which is amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I have a podcast every Wednesday called Women Investor Wednesdays, where I interview a woman that invests in commercial real estate, because I want the baby boomer women are going to end up with a lot of wealth.
Yes.
And they're putting it all in the stock market based on their financial planner. And they need to know that there's other options. There's, invest in a 10-unit multifamily, invest in a Marriott, courtyard. There's so many things to invest in, self-storage. So I'm trying to educate. I don't teach the women how to do it, because I would only know how to teach for retail. And I want to talk about all asset classes. So I want to expose women that look at all these women out there doing it. Just learn and be aware, because you shouldn't put all your assets in one place. That's just not a good idea.
Agreed. And so what's funny about that part of your story is, sounds like you're back to doing events again, which was when you started with the plan, right? Like, hey, you got back to events.
I love events. I've done all kinds of events in my career. I did like an American Idol of small businesses, like local mom and pops, the best wings, the best this, the best that. I did that event for 5 years. It was so much fun. I love doing events. Fantastic.
Beth, where can people keep up with you? Where can they find you if they want to go to one of your events or just learn more about you? Where do they find you?
So bethazor.com is my website. And I am on all of the social platforms under Beth Azor. So I'm on X. I do most of my posting on X, and then we repost and put it on LinkedIn, and a lot for my personal, if they're curious to follow what the boys are doing. Like I went to the Mission Impossible premiere with Alex. He took me. Fun. That was a dream for both of us. So that kind of stuff is on Instagram.
IG. Okay. How was that Mission Impossible premiere?
Amazing.
On that side, yeah.
Tom wasn't there, but it was fine. My son has been going to lots of premieres, and he said, I just want to get invited to the Mission Impossible premiere so I can take my mom. It was so much fun.
Awesome. What a great story, man. I just love your story. I love your heart for focusing on your family and your kids, and how that's just opened up an incredible life for you that never would have experienced had you stayed to the kind of traditional path of, I'm just going to keep grinding out. Money's what's important. And you focused on the family, and man, what an awesome story. Beth, thanks so much for spending time sharing that story with us and taking time to have this conversation. It's been great.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me. I love the theme of the show. And I wore my favorite shirt, Think Bigger. This is what I tell my women at the conference, think bigger. So thanks for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
Truly mine as well. To our audience, thank you for taking time to listen. Always appreciate that you do that. If you would write a nice review for us, give us a rating, share the program with a friend, it helps us reach a broader audience. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Sardina. You've been listening to the Return to Authenticity podcast, and bye for now.